The U.S. ambassador to South Korea, Mark Lippert, was injured in a razor blade attack in the center of Seoul. As the assailant rushed at the envoy, he reportedly shouted that North and South Korea need to be unified. To discuss this in detail, I'm joined live by Brian Becker from the Anti-War Answer Coalition. Thanks for joining us again here on RT International. So a South Korean news agency reporting that the suspect was opposed to the joint South Korea-U.S. military drills launched earlier this week. Is he representative of the country's population?
We don't know anything about the details of this attack or this attacker, so it would be highly premature to make any sort of characterizations of him or what he did or why he did it. We do know that there is a very intense sentiment both in North Korea and South Korea and among overseas Koreans about the continued war exercises, so-called war games, that simulate with the United States and South Korea the invasion of North Korea and the destruction of North Korea. These games are, or they're not games, they're not funny, but these war exercises are the biggest the U.S. conducts anywhere in the world, and they're considered highly provocative by North Korea. In South Korea, the parliamentary opposition, the United Progressive Party, which gives voice to the sentiment that the U.S. should stop working with South Korea to carry out these war games, that party has been suppressed now by the South Korean government. Its leaders have been put in prison and sentenced to jail for 12 years. Its parliamentary delegation broken up. There is a blanket of against all dissent right now in South Korea. So the South Korea is becoming a pressure cooker. Whether it has anything to do with this individual, we don't know.
What do you think is likely to follow in reaction from the U.S. to this incident?
Well, of course, there will be possibly a blowback by those who are taking every opportunity to stop a rapprochement or a lessening of tension between the U.S. and North Korea. There are those, again, in South Korea who want discussions for reunification. That almost happened in 2000, the June 15th declaration, where there was the beginning of a thaw after a half a century of conflict. There are many who believe that this is imperative for the Korean people as a whole. There are 10 million divided families. Whether this incident becomes a major political football or not, we don't know. But really, as a peace activist and representing the people in the United States who feel it's time to end all of these war exercises, instead of sanctioning North Korea, instead of imposing harsh political repression on dissidents in South Korea, the United States needs to turn a page and really end the Korean War once and for all.
Now, there's about 28,000 U.S. troops stationed in South Korea as a deterrent against aggression from the north. What's their role in the peninsula?
Well, the U.S. has been in South Korea since 1950. The United States invaded on June 25th. They attempted to wipe out North Korea, and they launched a major offensive, and that was pushed back by a combination of North Korean and Chinese troops in the late 1950s. Since that time, the situation has been frozen. Many progressive activists in South Korea feel that the U.S. military presence, tens of thousands of troops, a half a century later, is not to protect South Korea from North Korean aggression, but to exercise dominance over South Korea's political establishment and to maintain U.S. military bases in this very important part of Asia.
Finally, this isn't the first time a U.S. ambassador has been unfortunately caught in the line of fire. An American ambassador to Libya killed in 2012 in Benghazi. Is this an attack on Washington foreign policy?
Again, we don't know enough of the motivations of the attacker or who the attacker is. We know very little because it's only headlines provided by the South Korean police and the South Korean government. We do know, however, that U.S. policy of invading countries, occupying countries, increases tension. It increases a cycle of violence. I don't think we can directly link this at all to the Benghazi attack. It's far different. But we do notice that when the United States occupies 130 countries with 1,000 military installations and keeps some countries divided, as it has in the case of the Korean Peninsula, that can only lead to heightened tension.
Brian Becker, thank you for your time.